At Thanksgiving, every sibling was thanked in a speech except me. I smiled, took a photo, and slipped out. That evening, my mom called sobbing after reading my caption. The dining room smelled like sage and butter, a combination I used to love before it became synonymous with performance and pretense. 37 people crammed into my parents' house that Thanksgiving, and I was the only one who knew I'd never come back. My name is Marcia Hayes, though everyone in my family calls me Marcia when they remember I exist. I'm 32, the middle child of 5, and I've spent 3 decades perfecting the art of being invisible. My older brother, Marcus, is a cardiovascular surgeon. My older sister, Lauren, runs a nonprofit that builds schools in Guatemala. My younger brother, Todd, just made partner at his law firm. My younger sister, Emma, teaches special needs children and has been featured in 2 different education journals. Then there's me. I'm a medical illustrator, which sounds impressive until you're standing in a room full of people who think drawing pictures of intestines is something you do when you can't handle real medicine. I make 6 figures doing freelance work for textbook publishers at pharmaceutical companies, but somehow that never comes up at family gatherings. The turkey was perfect that year, golden and glistening under the chandelier my mother had insisted on installing last spring. She'd called me about it back in March, wanting to know if the one from Pottery Barn or the one from West Elm looked more elegant. I'd spent 40 minutes on the phone with her, looking up both options, comparing finishes and dimensions. She went with a West Elm one. When it arrived, and she posted about it on Facebook, she thanked Lauren for helping her choose. I should have known then what this Thanksgiving would bring. My father stood at the head of the table, wineglass raised, his silver hair catching the light from that damn chandelier. He's always been a man of speeches, a retired English professor who never met a moment he couldn't turn into a lecture. Everyone settled into their seats, forks and knives arranged just so, the good china brought out because we had cousins visiting from Oregon. I want to take a moment, Dad began, his voice carrying that theatrical quality he'd perfected over 40 years of teaching romantic poetry, to express my gratitude for the remarkable individuals sitting at this table. My stomach tightened. I'd heard this speech before in various forms at countless dinners and holidays and birthday parties. Marcus, he continued, turning to my brother at his right hand, you saved 3 lives this month alone. 3 families got to keep their fathers, their husbands, their sons, because of your skill and dedication. Your mother and I are in awe of you. Marcus did his humble nod, the one he practiced in the mirror since high school. His wife, Rebecca, squeezed his hand, beaming. Lauren, sweetheart. Dad pivoted to my sister across from him. The photos you sent from Honduras last month brought your mother to tears. Watching those children walk into a school you built with real desks and books and supplies, that's the kind of legacy most people only dream of creating. Lauren wiped her eyes, ever the emotional one. Her husband, David, wrapped an arm around her shoulders. Todd, my boy, Dad's voice swelled with pride as he looked at my younger brother, partner at 30. When I think about the long hours you've put in, the cases you've won, the clients you've helped, I see a man who understands what it means to fight for justice. Todd raised his own glass in acknowledgement, his fiancée, Michelle, practically glowing beside him. And Emma, Dad's voice softened, the way it always did for the baby of the family. What you do every single day, the patience you show, the love you give to children, others have given up on, that's divine work. That's what makes the world better. Emma blushed, ducking her head against her girlfriend Sarah's shoulder. Dad surveyed the table, his eyes passing over me like I was part of the wallpaper, and raised his glass higher. To my children, you make me proud every single day. The table erupted in a chorus of cheers and clinking glasses. I lifted mine too, the crystal catching the light, and I smiled. I've always been good at smiling when things hurt. Nobody noticed. Nobody ever noticed. My mother was already crying, dabbing at her eyes with her napkin, the lace one she'd embroidered herself. She stood up, unsteady, and I thought maybe she'd add to Dad's speech. Maybe she'd suddenly remember there were 5 of us, not 4. Let me hit the pie, she said instead, hurrying toward the kitchen. I sat down my glass carefully, precisely, the way I'd learned to do everything in this house without making noise or fuss. The conversations around me swelled, everyone congratulating everyone else. Marcus launched into a story about a particularly complex surgery. Lauren showed photos on her phone to Aunt Patricia. My cousin Dylan, who's 23 and studying environmental science at Berkeley, leaned over from his seat beside me. "That was pretty intense, huh? Your dad really goes all out." "He's passionate," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "What do you do again?" I always forget. I'd told him 3 times at previous family gatherings, but I smiled anyway. "Medical illustration. I draw anatomical images for textbooks and educational materials." "Oh, cool," he said, in that tone people use when they mean the opposite. And then he turned to ask Todd about a legal question. I pushed back my chair. The movement was smooth, practiced, generating no more than a whisper of sound against the hardwood floor. I stood, picking up my phone from where I'd placed it face down beside my plate, and walked toward the hallway where everyone had left their coats. "Marcia, where are you going?" My mother appeared from the kitchen, 3 pies balanced in her arms. "We haven't had dessert yet." "Just need to get something from my car," I lied. I'd gotten good at that, too. Before I left, I did something I'd been planning since my father started his speech. I pulled out my phone and held it up. "Everyone squeeze in for a photo." They all turned smiling, those perfect practiced smiles, the golden family backlit by that gorgeous chandelier. Dad's hand on Marcus's shoulder, Mom between Lauren and Emma, Todd and his fiancée in the back, even the extended family members, the cousins and aunts and uncles, all pressed together in a picture of absolute familial bliss. I snapped the photo, everyone frozen in their happiness, and then I took one more for good measure. "Got it," I called out cheerfully. "These will be great." "Send them to the family group chat," Lauren said, already turning back to her conversation. I grabbed my coat from the closet, a charcoal wool pea coat I bought myself last Christmas because the one from my mother had gone to Emma, and slipped out the front door into the November cold. The drive back to my apartment in downtown Portland took 45 minutes. I lived in a converted warehouse building with floor-to-ceiling windows and exposed brick, the kind of place I dreamed about since art school. I bought it myself 3 years ago outright, no mortgage, because freelancing pays well when you're good at it. I told my parents when I signed the papers. My mother had said, "That's nice, honey," and then spent 20 minutes telling me about the award Emma had won from the school district. I dropped my keys in the bowl by the door, hung up my coat, and sat down on my velvet sofa with my laptop. The apartment was quiet except for the distant sound of traffic and my neighbor playing Miles Davis through the thin walls. I opened Instagram, a platform I rarely used except to post the occasional finished illustration or photo of my cat, Rembrandt. I uploaded the family photo, the one where everyone looked so perfect, so complete, so utterly content with themselves. Then I wrote the caption. I rewrote it 4 times. Actually, the first version was too angry. The second was too sad. The third tried to be funny and fell flat. The fourth one was perfect. Thanksgiving 2024. Grateful for the family that taught me I didn't need them. Dad gave a beautiful speech today, thanking Marcus for saving lives, Lauren for building schools, Todd for fighting for justice, and Emma for teaching with patience. He thanked all of his children. Well, all the ones he remembers he has. To the parents who raised me to know my worth by showing me I had none in their eyes, thank you. You taught me to build my own table. 20 years of sitting at yours hoping to be seen was enough. This smile is the last one you'll get from me. Thanksgiving, family photo. Last Supper. Growth. Moving on. My hand hovered over the post button. I thought about deleting it. I thought about the consequences. I thought about how this would look, how people would judge me, how my family would react. Then I thought about my father's eyes sliding past me like I was furniture. I thought about being 11 years old and winning the state art competition, coming home with a trophy and a certificate and a scholarship offered to a summer program, only to have my mother glance at it and say, "That's wonderful, Marcia. Marcus, tell your sister about the science fair." I thought about being 16 and getting early acceptance to RISD, one of the best art schools in the country, and having the celebration dinner overshadowed by Lauren's announcement that she was going to volunteer in Ecuador for a semester. I thought about being 25, landing my first major contract with a publishing house worth $40,000, calling home excited, and having my father say, "Good for you, honey. Did you hear Todd passed the bar exam?" I thought about every birthday where my cake was smaller, every Christmas where my presents were fewer, every achievement that was met with distracted half-praise before the conversation shifted to someone else. I pressed post. The response was immediate. Within 10 minutes, I had 50 likes. Within 20, 100. Comments started rolling in from friends I'd made in art school, from colleagues in the medical illustration community, from people I'd met at conferences and workshops over the years. The notifications kept coming, a steady stream of validation I'd never sought but suddenly needed desperately. My college roommate from freshman year, someone I hadn't spoken to in 5 years, commented, "I remember you crying after family weekends when everyone else's parents stayed the whole time and yours left after an hour. You deserve so much better then, and you deserve better now." A colleague from a medical conference in Chicago wrote, "When you presented your cardiac illustration series last year, I watched 3 attendees cry because your work helped them finally understand the procedure that saved their lives. Your parents have no idea who you are." Dr. Patricia Wynn, the head of anatomy at Johns Hopkins, who'd commissioned 4 major projects for me, posted, "Marcia Hayes is one of the most gifted medical illustrators working today. Her contributions to medical education are immeasurable. Any family would be lucky to have her." I sat there reading comment after comment, watching the number climb higher and higher. The post had been shared to someone's story, then someone else's, then into a group about family estrangement support. People I'd never met were engaging with it, relating to it, finding pieces of their own stories in mine. My phone buzzed with a text from my friend Michael, another medical illustrator I'd mentored years ago when he was just starting out. "Holy hell, Marcia, I just saw what you posted. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I can be at your place in 20 minutes. I texted back, "I'm okay. Really, for the first time in a long time, I'm actually okay." He responded immediately. "You know that project you helped me land with the orthopedic publisher? I told them you were the best in the business and that working with you changed my entire approach to the craft. They wanted to hire you instead of me. That's how good you are. Your family is missing out on something extraordinary." The thing about being overlooked your entire life is that you start to internalize it. You begin to believe that maybe you aren't worth noticing, that maybe your accomplishments aren't that impressive, that maybe everyone else really is more deserving of attention and praise. You convince yourself that you're being too sensitive, too needy, too demanding of recognition you haven't earned. But sitting there, reading message after message from people who saw my value, who appreciated my work, who understood exactly what I'd been experiencing, something cracked open inside me. All those years of doubt, of questioning myself, of wondering if I was imagining the neglect or exaggerating the hurt, suddenly crystallized into clarity. I wasn't imagining anything. It was real. It had always been real. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered without thinking. "Marcia Hayes," I said. A woman's voice, professional and warm. "Yes, this is Angela Martinez from the New York Times. I hope I'm not calling at a bad time. A colleague sent me your Instagram post, and I'm working on a piece about adult children setting boundaries with toxic family dynamics. Would you be interested in speaking with me about your experience?" I almost said no. The idea of sharing my story beyond Instagram, of having it printed in an actual newspaper that my parents would inevitably see, felt like escalation. But then I thought about all the comments from people who felt less alone because I'd been honest. And I thought about how many more people might need to hear this. "Yes," I said, "I'd be interested." We talked for 45 minutes. Angela was kind and insightful, asking questions that made me think about patterns I'd never fully articulated. She'd experienced something similar with her own family, she told me, and it took her until age 40 to finally establish boundaries that protected her mental health. The hardest part, she said, was accepting that they weren't going to change, that I couldn't make them see what they'd done. I could only control my response to it. After we hung up, I felt simultaneously exhausted and energized. Telling the story out loud to a stranger who understood was cathartic in a way I hadn't expected. Comments on my post continued rolling in. Someone shared a quote, "You can't heal in the same environment that made you sick." Someone else posted a link to an article about scapegoat children and families with golden child syndrome. I'd never heard that term before, but reading about it felt like reading my own biography. Holy Marcia, I'm so sorry. This is heartbreaking. You deserve so much better. The strength it takes to walk away from toxicity, even family toxicity, is incredible. Proud of you. I always wondered why you never talked about your family. Now I understand. I screenshotted several of the most meaningful comments and saved them in a folder on my phone labeled Proof. Proof that I wasn't crazy. Proof that what happened was real. Proof that other people could see what my family never could. Around midnight, my college advisor from RISD commented, "Professor Ellen Cartwright had been one of the first people to really see my potential, to push me beyond what I thought I was capable of creating." Her comment was simple, but hit hard. "I remember meeting your parents at graduation. They spent the entire time talking about your brother's medical school acceptance. I remember thinking how odd it was that they barely mentioned you just won the Departmental Excellence Award. I should have said something then. I'm sorry I didn't. You were extraordinary then, and you're extraordinary now." I cried reading that. Not sad tears, but something else. Relief, maybe. Validation. The knowledge that I hadn't been invisible to everyone, that some people had seen the dynamic, even if they hadn't known how to address it. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael, another medical illustrator I'd mentored 2 years ago when he was just starting out. "Holy hell, Marcia. I just saw what you posted. Are you okay? Do you need anything? I can be at your place in 20 minutes. Then another call came through. "Rachel, I just saw your post," she said without preamble. "Are you okay? Do you need me to come over?" "I'm fine," I told her. And the weird thing was, I meant it. I'm actually really fine. "What happened?" I told her about the speech, about the careful way I'd been erased, about the pattern that had been ongoing my entire life. Rachel listened, making sympathetic noises. And when I finished, she said, "You know what? Them. You're the most talented person I know. You're successful as hell, and you did it all without them. You don't need their validation." We talked for an hour, and by the time we hung up, my Instagram post had over 500 likes, and the comments were still coming. Some were from people I didn't even know. People who'd seen it shared by mutual friends. People who related to the feeling of being overlooked and undervalued. The post kept spreading. By 1 a.m, it had been shared to 3 different Facebook groups about family estrangement. By 2, someone had screenshot it and posted it to Twitter, where it was getting even more traction. People were dissecting it, analyzing it, sharing their own stories in response. One Twitter thread particularly caught my attention. A therapist named Dr. Sarah Brennan had quoted my caption and written a long thread about parentification and emotional neglect in families. When parents consistently prioritize some children over others, they create a hierarchy that damages everyone involved. The forgotten child learns they must be perfect to earn crumbs of attention. The golden children learn love is conditional on achievement. Nobody wins in this dynamic. She tagged me, and suddenly my Instagram notifications were flooding with new followers from Twitter, mental health advocates, other therapists, people who worked in family counseling. My follower count jumped from 800 to over 3,000 in a matter of hours. I should have been overwhelmed. Instead, I felt strangely calm. This was the right decision. Speaking my truth, letting it echo out into the world, watching it resonate with others who'd felt the same pain. This was what healing looked like. Around 3 o'clock in the morning, I finally put my phone down and tried to sleep. Rembrandt, my orange tabby cat, curled up beside me, purring steadily. I'd adopted him 2 years ago from a shelter, a scrawny thing that had been overlooked because he wasn't a kitten anymore, because he had a crooked tail, because he wasn't Instagram perfect. We'd understood each other immediately. "Just you and me, Rem," I whispered, scratching behind his torn ear. "We don't need anyone else." But that wasn't entirely true anymore, was it? I had Rachel. I had my colleagues and friends and the community I'd built. I had people who saw me, really saw me, without me having to beg for it. Sleep came eventually, and with it, dreams of tables that stretched on forever, with empty chairs and full plates and nobody calling my name. Then my phone rang. A call from Mom. I stared at the screen, watching her name flash over and over. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Marcia Marie Hayes, her voice was thick with tears, broken and heaving. How could you? How could you post something like that for the whole world to see? Hi, Mom. Do you have any idea what you've done? Your father is devastated. Marcus called. He's furious. Lauren is crying. You've embarrassed this entire family. Have I? My voice was calm, steady, because from where I'm sitting, I just told the truth. That's not the truth. We love you. We've always loved you. How can you say we don't appreciate you? When was the last time you asked about my work, Mom? Real questions, not just how's work in passing. When was the last time you celebrated something I accomplished? Silence on the other end. I could hear her breathing, ragged and wet. I bought my apartment 3 years ago, I continued, paid cash. Did you know that? Did you know I was featured in the Journal of Biomedical Communication last year? Did you know I illustrated 3 chapters of the most widely used anatomy textbook in medical schools across the country? Did you know that surgeons, including your precious Marcus, look at my work every single day to learn how to save lives? Marcia, that's not fair. Did you know any of that, Mom? More silence. You didn't, did you? Because you never asked. In 32 years, you and Dad have made it crystal clear where I rank in this family. Dead last. Behind Marcus's surgical career, Lauren's nonprofit, Todd's legal victories, and Emma's teaching awards. Always last. Always invisible. That's not true, she whispered, but there was no conviction in it. Dad gave a speech tonight thanking all of his children. He named 4 people. Mom, 4. I was sitting right there. I've been sitting right there my whole life, waiting for someone to notice me. And tonight, I finally understood that you never will. You're being dramatic. You're misinterpreting. I'm being honest. Finally. And you can't stand it because it holds up a mirror and forces you to see what you've done. My mother's crying intensified. Please take it down. Please, Marcia, people are calling. Your Aunt Patricia saw it. The neighbors saw it. This is humiliating. For who? For you? Because that's what this is really about, isn't it? Not that I'm hurt, not that I'm done, but that people know that your perfect family image is cracked. I'm begging you, please, we can talk about this. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix, Mom. I'm not angry. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm just done. You don't mean that. But I did. Standing in my beautiful apartment that I'd earned with talent and hard work and determination, looking at the dozens of framed illustrations on my walls, the awards I'd won, the life I'd built entirely on my own, I meant it more than I'd ever meant anything. I need space, I said. A lot of space, maybe forever space. I haven't decided yet. Marcia, please. I hung up. The phone rang again immediately. I declined the call. It rang 8 more times over the next hour from various family members. Marcus left a voicemail calling me selfish and attention-seeking. Lauren sent a long text about how I was hurting Mom's feelings during the holidays. Todd's message was short. Real mature, Marcia. Emma was the only one that gave me pause. I don't understand what happened, but I'm here if you want to talk. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I made myself a cup of tea, the fancy jasmine blend I'd bought from a local tea shop, and I sat by my window, watching the city lights. My Instagram post had over 1,000 likes now. The comment section had become a support group, with people sharing their own stories of family neglect and the difficult decision to walk away. One comment stuck with me. The family you're born into is just biology. The family you choose is love. I'd spent so long trying to earn love from people who were never going to give it to me the way I needed. I'd twisted myself into shapes, stayed quiet when I wanted to scream, smiled through hurt, and accepted crumbs while watching them feast at a table that had no place setting for me. My phone buzzed with a text from Rachel. Come over tomorrow. Friendsgiving. We're doing the whole thing. Turkey, stuffing, pie, the works. Your family, Marcia. Real family. I smiled, and this time it wasn't performance. It was genuine. Over the next few days, the messages from my family continued. Mom called every morning. Dad sent emails, long, rambling things about misunderstandings and perspective. Marcus tried guilt. Lauren tried emotion. Todd tried logic. Emma just kept saying she wanted to understand. I didn't block them. I didn't send angry responses. I just didn't engage. A week after Thanksgiving, my mother showed up at my apartment. I saw her through the door camera, standing in the hallway, looking small and tired. She knocked 3 times, waited, knocked again. I didn't answer. She stood there for 15 minutes before leaving, and I watched through the camera as she walked away, her shoulders shaking. Part of me felt guilty, the part that had been trained since childhood to put everyone else's feelings above my own, to smooth things over, to make peace. But a larger part of me, the part that was tired of being diminished, stayed firm. 2 weeks after Thanksgiving, I got a call from Emma. Against my better judgment, I answered. I talked to Mom and Dad, she said. Really talked to them. Made them sit down and listen. Marcia, I had no idea. No idea about how they treated you. I mean, I knew they focused on the rest of us, but I didn't realize it was this bad. I was the youngest. I was in my own world. I just assumed. She trailed off. I'm sorry. I should have noticed. I should have said something. It's not your fault, Em. Can we get coffee? Just you and me. I won't try to get you to reconcile or anything. I just want to see you. I considered it. Emma had always been the kindest of my siblings, the least competitive, the most genuine. And she was just a kid for most of the worst of it. Too young to understand family dynamics. Okay, I said. Coffee? We met at a place near Powell's Books 3 days later. Emma looked nervous, fidgeting with her cup, her curly hair pulled back in a messy bun. She'd always been the most casual of us, the one who wore her heart openly. I've been thinking a lot, she started, about growing up, about family dinners and holidays. And you're right, Marcia, they did overlook you constantly. I remember you winning that art competition in high school and nobody made a big deal out of it. I remember your college acceptance and it got buried under my 8th grade graduation party. I remember so many little moments where you just got pushed aside. Why didn't you say anything then? She looked down at her coffee. Honestly, because I was getting attention and it felt good. And I was too young and selfish to think about what it meant that you weren't. I'm not proud of that. At least you're honest. Mom's a mess. Dad, too. They keep saying they didn't mean it, that they love you, that you misunderstood. Do you think I misunderstood? Emma shook her head. No, I think they did exactly what you said they did. And now they're forced to confront it, and they don't know how. We talked for 2 hours. Emma didn't try to fix things or convince me to come back. She just listened and apologized and validated my feelings in a way my parents never had. When we hugged goodbye, she whispered, You deserved better. You deserve better. I hope you find it. Christmas came and went. I spent it with Rachel and her family, people who'd known me for years, and celebrated my successes without comparison or competition. We drank too much wine and played board games. I illustrated a custom portrait of their dog as a gift that made Rachel's mom cry happy tears. My parents sent gifts, a generic Amazon box with a cashmere scarf and a gift card. No note. I donated both to a women's shelter. Marcus sent nothing. Lauren sent a card with a generic thinking of you message. Todd ignored me entirely. Emma sent a thoughtful package, a set of professional-grade illustration pens I'd mentioned wanting, a book on anatomical art history, and a note that said, Keep creating beautiful things. Love you. I kept Emma's gifts. As winter turned to spring, something shifted in me. The anger faded, replaced by something lighter. Peace, maybe, or just acceptance. I threw myself into my work, taking on bigger projects, more complex illustrations. I got commissioned to create a series of images for a groundbreaking surgical technique that would be published in medical journals worldwide. The lead surgeon on the project called my work the clearest visualization of this procedure anyone has ever created. I started dating someone I met at a gallery opening, a marine biologist named Chris, who thought my career was fascinating and asked detailed questions about my process. We'd stay up late while I showed him how I built up layers in my digital illustrations, how I researched to ensure anatomical accuracy, how I balanced art and science. You're incredible, he said one night, watching me work on a particularly complex cardiovascular illustration. The way you see things, the way you translate it into something people can understand and learn from. You're helping save lives. You know that, right? I did know that. I'd always known that. I just needed someone else to see it too. My Instagram following grew, not from that one post, but from the work I started sharing regularly. Medical students and residents began following me, commenting on how my illustrations had helped them understand complex concepts. Professors reached out, asking if they could use my work in their curricula. I got invited to speak at a conference about the intersection of art and medicine. My life became fuller, richer, more vibrant, without the weight of family expectation dragging me down. On my 33rd birthday in June, I got a card in the mail from my parents. Inside was a long letter handwritten by my mother in her careful cursive. Dear Marcia, it began, and I almost stopped reading because she never called me Marcia unless I was in trouble, but I continued. Your father and I have done a lot of thinking these past 7 months. We've talked to a therapist, separately and then together. We've been forced to confront some uncomfortable truths about how we raised you, how we treated you, how we failed you. We want to say we didn't mean it, that we didn't realize, that it was unintentional, and maybe some of it was, but you were right. We compared you to your siblings constantly. We downplayed your achievements. We took you for granted because you were quiet and didn't demand attention the way the others did. We loved you, but we didn't show it in the ways you needed. We didn't show it in any ways that mattered. I don't know if you'll ever forgive us. I don't know if you should. But I want you to know that we see it now. We see you now, and we're sorry. We're so, so sorry. If you ever want to talk, we're here. If you don't, we understand. You deserve to be happy and loved and celebrated. I hope you have that now, even if it's not with us. Happy birthday, sweetheart. I'm proud of you. I should have said that every day of your life, and I didn't. And that's something I'll regret forever. Love, Mom. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it carefully and put it in a drawer. I didn't respond immediately. I wasn't sure if I would at all. But a month later, I sent a short email. Not to reconcile, not to forgive, but to acknowledge. I got your letter. I appreciate the honesty. I'm not ready to rebuild anything yet, and I might never be. But I wanted you to know I'm okay. Better than okay. I'm happy. I hope you can find peace with what happened, even if we never fix what broke. Take care, Marcia. My mother wrote back within an hour. Thank you for responding. I'm glad you're happy. That's all I really want for you. Love, Mom. That was 6 months ago. I haven't gone back to a family gathering. I haven't joined the group chat that still pings occasionally with photos and updates. I see Emma every few weeks for coffee or lunch. She fills me in on family news without pressure or expectation, and she respects the boundaries I've set. Marcus and I haven't spoken. Lauren and I exchanged polite messages after she saw one of my illustrations featured in a medical journal, but nothing substantial. Todd and I might as well be strangers. My parents and I exist in a strange limbo. They send occasional emails, usually about small things. Mom will share a photo of the garden. Dad will send an article about medical illustration he found interesting. I respond sometimes, brief messages that don't invite deeper conversation, but don't shut the door completely either. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I don't know if they've really changed, or if they're just sorry they got called out. I don't know if 32 years of neglect can be undone by therapy and apologies. What I do know is this: I'm no longer waiting for them to see me. I no longer need their validation. I built my own table, like my Instagram caption said, and it's surrounded by people who chose to sit with me, people who celebrate me, who see my worth without having to be told it's there. That Thanksgiving photo is still on my Instagram. Over 2,000 likes now. Hundreds of comments from people sharing their own stories of family estrangement and the freedom that came with it. Every few months, someone new finds it and reaches out, thanking me for putting words to their experience. Sometimes I look at that photo, at the smiling faces of my family, at the chandelier glowing overhead, at the perfect tableau of dysfunction masked as love, and I think about the girl I was, sitting at that table, hoping this would be the year they noticed her. I'm glad she finally left. I'm glad she finally chose herself. The family that taught me I didn't need them was right, just not in the way they intended. I didn't need them to be happy. I didn't need their approval to be successful. I didn't need their recognition to know my worth. I found all of that on my own. And you know what? That's the best revenge of all. Not anger, not bitterness, not making them feel guilty, just living well, just being happy. Just building a life so full and rich and meaningful that their absence doesn't leave a hole because I filled it with people who actually value me. Every year on Thanksgiving, I host Friendsgiving at my apartment. 20 people, maybe more, squeezed around a table I set up specifically for the occasion. Artists and scientists and teachers and writers and musicians, all of us bringing dishes and wine and stories and laughter. Last year, Chris made a toast about gratitude, and when he got to me, he said, "To Marcia, who taught me that family is what you make it, and what we've made here is pretty damn special." Everyone raised their glasses, looking at me with genuine affection, with appreciation, with love. I raised mine too, smiling. That real smile, the one I don't have to fake anymore. And somewhere across town, in a house with a chandelier from West Elm, my parents probably wondered why their table felt emptier, even though everyone was still there. I hope they figured it out eventually. But honestly, it's not my problem anymore. Because I've learned that sometimes closure isn't a conversation or an apology or a grand reconciliation. Sometimes it's just peace. The quiet realization that you've stopped waiting for the apology that may never come. That you've stopped defining your worth by how much someone else values you. That you can sit at your own table, surrounded by people who see you, who hear you, who choose you, without having to fight for a seat. It took me 32 years to get here, but I made it. And if my family ever wonders how I managed to build such a full, happy life without them, the answer is simple. They taught me how. They taught me through every overlooked moment, every forgotten praise, every empty acknowledgement. They taught me by showing me what love shouldn't feel like, what belonging shouldn't cost, what family shouldn't require. They taught me resilience, independence, strength. They taught me to find joy in my own company, to celebrate myself, to cherish people who show up because they want to, not because they have to. In some strange, twisted way, I owe them for that. Because without their neglect, I might never have learned how to build a life that's truly mine. These days, when I look around my apartment, the art on the walls, the plants thriving in the morning light, the laughter of friends filling the space, I realize something I never thought I would. I'm not missing anything. The empty chair at their Thanksgiving table, that's just a reminder of where I used to sit quietly, hoping to belong. Now I sit at my own table, loud and loved, surrounded by the family I chose. And every year, when the turkey's carved and the wine is poured, someone inevitably raises a glass to me, to the host, to the artist, to the woman who finally stopped waiting to be seen. And I smile again, this time for real. Because I am seen. Because I see myself. Because I made it here. And I'm never going back.